Hi, my name is Shania, and now I am here with.
Jamming.
Okay, so I currently business law student at Podomoro University,
Yep.
and as part of my investment law course, I've conducted this interview to learn about people's perspective and experiences regarding investment. Would it be okay if I record this and upload it on YouTube?
Yeah, we can.
Before we get into the topic, could you introduce yourself first and tell us a little bit about you and how you would describe yourself?
Okay, so my name is Jamming. I'm in marketing industry. So right now I'm in a startup working in terms of the whole marketing department. So involved in different types of marketing such as CRM, paid ads, SEO, SEM. And I would say all this while my career is more focused on project management, marketing. So I'm doing this kind of related activities. And then how would I describe myself? I think I would say I'm a detail-oriented person. Sometimes a bit too much of a perfectionist. So sometimes I would try to get things too perfect, and then that might make things slower than I like. But at the same time, I do think that I'm a long-term person. So when I think about things, I want to know what is my goal in the future, like what can I achieve, and then what is the steps that I need to take to achieve those goals. And I think in terms of short-term goal planning, maybe sometimes I set too high goals or maybe overestimate what can be achieved in the short term. So that's something that I would work on. And I think generally I'm a quite laid-back person, and only when it comes to goals then I'm very serious. But other than that, generally I feel I'm quite laid-back. People describe me as more chill, more relaxed. But when it comes to work, then yeah, I get more serious. So it's something that I try to balance. Yeah.
Are you currently involved in any form of investment? If so, what do you invest in and what initially attract you to those investments?
Okay, so currently I'm more invested into stocks. So I invest in like the Malaysian stock market. And I think the first thing that got me started is when I was in high school. I saw like YouTube videos about people growing their wealth on using investment. And then I heard about people like Warren Buffett and then Benjamin Graham, who are people very experienced and knowledgeable in investment. So I saw how they grow their wealth and then how they can reach a certain level of wealth. And then that inspired me to also start my own investing journey, because the only way to improve financially is to help your wealth grow. And if you just rely on your income, I think it will take a very long time and then you will not be able to grow as fast as investing. And I think investing is something that helps also in terms of like inflation, because money, the value does drop over time, but you need something to hedge against inflation, and investing is something that will help with that.
What does investing personally mean to you at this stage of lifetime?
I think I see investing as a way of getting to freedom. So investing helps to grow your wealth, and then it helps you give you a peace of mind. So when you want to do things, you don't have to worry too much money. So if I want to really grow my wealth and be someone more financially wealthy, so I think investing helps a lot in the journey, because like I said, so if I just rely on income, you would take very long. But then with investing, the more you do it, the longer you do it, then the more it compounds, and over time it can replace or even be better than your income. So that's a stage that I want to be. And also it means that I can worry about less about what I want to do. I mean, worry less about things I have to do, but at the same time I can focus more about things I like to do, and then maybe enjoy more in life, because everything requires money, but investing helps to give me a more peace of mind. Yeah.
When you are considering an investment opportunity, what are the main factors that influence your decision?
I think definitely one of the main priorities is like my risk appetite. So it depends on like how much of risk I want to take, and also the investment horizon. So in investing, there's like short term, long term. So short term is more towards trading, long term is investing. So for long term investment, the way I see it is the main criteria I would say is the returns over time and then the risk. So I would try to make sure that the risk reward ratio is not too low, too high, because I want to make sure that for every reward, the risk will not be so high. So making sure that it's comfortable with me, and then making sure that the money that I invest is something that I can afford to lose, because it's supposed to help me, right? So long term, I need to invest in things that are good stocks, so things that will grow over time, the business is stable, it has solid fundamentals, the cash flow is good. So all these things are important when I consider a stock opportunity or investment, and also like my own cash flow, right? So I need to see how much can I afford to invest, and making sure that it's not something that an amount that is something I'm comfortable with, I can sleep at night. At the same time also, it builds up over time. So I need to like make sure that I choose businesses that are good and don't simply just invest.
What usually makes you feel confident enough to put your money into a particular investment?
I think one of the main factors is like the fundamentals. So like looking at the business itself, right? So when you buy a stock, you need to see whether you're like buying a piece of the business. So you need to see like what are the financials of the business, in terms of like what's the assets it has, what's the liabilities it have, what's the net cash flow it does, the operating cash flow. Those are some of the main things I look at, and also like the company values itself. So what kind of company it is, like is it something that will be here long term or is it short term? So especially long term, I need to make sure that it's a solid piece of business that I'm buying into, because I need to understand what kind of products they sell, what kind of businesses they do, what kind of dealings they deal with, making sure all those are stable. Then that will help me be more peaceful choosing that. At the same time, so the next part is more about the price, right? So once I really determine that the business is good, then the next part is more about knowing what is the good price to buy, because I would want to buy it at a discount so that I can let it grow long term. And then especially if the business is solid, I think I got less to worry about the price, but at least it helps me to buy it at a lower price, which is like a discount, right? So it's more about looking at that. And I think so those kind of things are the things that I would try to prioritize.
Have you ever made an investment decision that didn't go as planned? If so, what was the most valuable lesson you learned from that experience?
Yeah, so I think definitely one of the things that I learned from is that you cannot be too greedy investing. So I think there was one or two investments that I put in a lot of money in because there's a lot of speculation around it, and it seems like at the time the stocks are going up very high. At the same time, I entered at the wrong time, so it was already going down, and I keep holding, but at the same time, there's an unrealistic hope that it will keep going up, but it will just keep dropping. So the longer I hold, the worse it becomes, and then at one point it's like you don't feel like selling it anymore because you keep hoping for it to increase. So I think the important lesson here is that knowing when to cut your loss. So don't be too fixated on the original price you bought it for, because you still need to make sure that you minimize the loss, because not every investment you do would bring back returns, but you just have to make sure that you know you have an entry and exit strategy so that you do not get too emotional investing, and then you keep hoping, because at the end of the day it's more about numbers, right? If it's not fitting a certain number and then after a certain amount of time you cut the loss better than you holding on, and then you lose a lot more than just selling it off first minor loss. So definitely must have some strategy in place to know when do you exit even if you make a bit of a loss.
How do you personally deal with uncertainty or risks when investing?
How do I personally deal? I think one of them is basically making sure that there's a clear exit and entry strategy. So making sure I set, like when I buy into the stock, I know clearly, okay, like what is the price that I want to enter and what's the exit. So even for long-term investment, I do feel that there must be some kind of exit strategy, but maybe it's less important, right, compared to short-term. It's just that I will still try to make sure that definitely once I already bought into a solid business, then I can be less worried about what price to exit. I'll let it roll on for 5 years, 10 years, but at the same time, I need to check every once in a while, maybe like every quarter, to make sure that the business is still unchanged and it is still like fundamentally the same business that I bought into. So I need to keep checking the portfolio and making sure that the exit and entry strategy is so good. That helps me have a bit more peace of mind when I do like investments. And then that helps me manage my risk as well, because at least I know, okay, it won't be too far off. And also having a longer investment period, that makes me less worried about what price change happen in like the short term.
Looking back at your investment journey, has your approach to investing changed over time? If yes, what changed the most?
So I think one of the main things is like being realistic about the goal. So like I said, setting clear exit entry strategy so that I do not keep holding on to something. So if in the past I get too emotional, like I hold on to things that the stock that is keep going down because I hope that it will go back up again. But if there's no clear-cut loss strategy, then it might even go lower and lower and lower to the point that you make a lot of loss. So that's the part that I learned to be better at. Even though I may not be the best at it yet, it's something I will try to keep growing on. And also making sure that I do not get too invested in one stock. So I need to diversify the stocks I invest in, making sure that, like I said, the 3 months per quarter, right? I look at whether any of the stocks change and whether I need to change my strategy. But I need to strictly follow my strategy, stick to it, and then don't get emotional when like investing.
Last question: if you could go back to the moment when you made the first investment,
Yeah.
what is the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I think one of the main advice is to do not overthink it. So start as early as possible. Make sure that I look at the fundamentals well. Don't overanalyze it, but at the same time, like maybe just pick one or two that I'm comfortable with and start at a very small amount. So maybe I have $100, then I just start with $100. I don't have to start with like $10,000 because at least I get to learn early. And then when I learn early with a small amount of money, and if I do it well, then I can really apply that to bigger money, right? So if I can make like 50% return from $100, then I can still make 50% from $10,000. So the key lesson here is starting early so that I can make mistakes early and then I can course correct early so that in the future when I put in more money, then I do it in a wiser way. I don't have to pay so much to learn like the mistake because I already learned from like small amount of money, right? So learning money management in terms of investing, how to manage the risk, how to manage the capital. I think those are things that I would prioritize first when learning, and then that would help me in my investment journey. So starting early, learning early, and also being more open also to learning from other people. Like maybe I got some friends who are very experienced in it, so I should be more humble in terms of asking their experience and then trying to learn how they do it. Even if sometimes they don't want to share so much, I can still go online. Because sometimes maybe I try to rely on friends too much. Maybe I would be more reluctant to go online and find. But at the end of the day, you can still find information online. And of course, you can mix it, right? Maybe get a bit of advice from a friend, get a bit of advice online, and then experiment myself. So those are things that I'll try to apply early on. Yeah.
Okay, so before ending this video, I want to say that I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to interview Jamings and hear his perspective directly. And I was interested in learning more about his experience, journey, and the way he approaches investing. And from this interview, there are three main takeaways. First, it's all about fundamentals. Jamie shared that he started learning about investing since high school through books, independent research, and learning from experienced investors. His journey shows that investing starts with understanding what you are investing in and building knowledge before expecting results. Second, strategy matters more than emotions. He shared that experience where he held onto a losing investment because he believed it would recover. From that experience, we can learn how important it is to understand risks, have a clear strategy, and know when to cut loose instead of letting emotions influence decisions. And third, stay open-minded and keep learning. Even after years of investing, he still believes in learning from other people and improving the way he makes decisions. Market keeps changing, and being willing to stay humble and continue learning is an important part of investing. And maybe that's the main thing this interview shows, that good investing is not just about making or growing your money, it's about continuously improving the way you make decisions. And just like as Warren Buffett said, that the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. And I think that quote reflects this interview really well. Investing is a long-term process, and a lot of it comes down to how willing we are to keep learning and make better decisions over time. Thank you for watching, and I hope there's something from this interview you can take with you too. Bye!